So, welcome to the Slay Your Haters Masterclass. This is just going to be a free class for everybody who has haters. Maybe you get hate online, maybe you get hate from like family, maybe you get hate from, I don't know, somebody else, maybe you get hate from yourself. So, we're going to take a look at that and we're going to help you with that today. My experience with hate and haters is a very long and storied one. I'm a 5'1" in human design, and for those of you who are also 5'1s or who have a 5 line in human design, you understand what it's like to be projected upon and to be scapegoated for people's problems. We'll go into that in a bit, I think. We'll go into scapegoating and projection a little bit. This is not going to be a complicated class. This is going to be a really easy class because the root of the problem is really easy and the solution is really easy. So I'm going to make this as quick as possible. My goal is an hour. We could go an hour and a half. It might even be shorter than that, but I doubt it because I like to get really wordy. So, if you have a lot of haters, where you want to be really depends on your design, who you are, and what your goals are. So if you're a public figure, does it serve you to pay attention to your haters? No. If you are in a family situation and it's family drama, does it serve you to pay attention to your haters? Maybe. Depends on what kind of relationship you want with your family. So first of all, let's figure out what kind of haters you have, what kind of hate you're dealing with, and what your goal is with those haters. So I'm not the kind of person who's just going to say you need to drop everybody and you need to have better boundaries and cut everybody off, even though I've done that. And it does work if the haters that you have are people like strangers or people online or people that you just don't see a future with. It works really well for like cutting people off, and like having boundaries works really well when you have haters that you're just really not compatible with as people in general. You don't share the same values, you don't share the same lifestyle goals, and you don't share the same desires, wants, or needs. So there's really no place for them in your life. Cutting people off in that instance is actually a pretty good idea because then you're just like cutting to the chase, you're cutting off the baggage and you're getting out of a situation that was just holding you back. Like if you were carrying a bunch of stones on your back that you didn't actually need to be carrying. Getting rid of people like that by just having better boundaries and cutting people off is a great idea. When it's something like family, or when it's something like friends who you actually do really love and you really do feel compatible with in like a fundamental level, and you're just going through something rough, healing your and we're going to get into this, healing your what you need to heal, and this is a heart chakra issue. um, Healing your heart, the heart chakra wound, which is the reason for your haters in the first place, is going to help you get to a place of clarity on that where you know what your next steps are. Now, I'm not going to give you blanket advice, and that's something that I've been learning the past year, is that giving people blanket advice doesn't work, but what does work is giving people advice that they can apply to themselves in a way that works best for them. And the best way to do that I've found is getting people to a solid foundation of self-knowledge. So what's true for everybody is that we all have these energy centers, chakras. We all can work with this. We all have the same pains, and we all have the same, there's the method to getting whatever you want is the same for everybody. How you get there, what you want, who you are, and what you're dealing with is going to be different depending on who you are. That's why you can't give blanket advice to people, because people don't work like that, right? So I'm going to give you advice that works for everybody. And this is going to be a heart chakra workshop or masterclass. The thing about the heart chakra is that because it's the first part of your body that forms when you're in your mother's womb, It's also the heartbeat of the cosmos. It's the heartbeat of God. It's what connects you to the universe. So if you're connected to the universe, you're connected to every other person on the planet. And the heart chakra is, if you like to think about it, I like to think about it as this almost like connecting force. If you can imagine like a beam of light beaming out of your heart chakra and looping out to connect to every other heart on the planet, that's the heart chakra. So we actually predict the future through the heart. We can't predict it mentally. It's not something that's like a psychic third eye thing to predict the future. That's more like clairvoyance. The heart is where we know the next step on an intuitive level, and it's where you can feel what's correct for you moving forward. So you're given one step in advance, and you can only know that through the heart chakra. And that's something that you just, when you tap into it, you can feel it. If you have a lot of haters, and if you have a lot of people that are kind of out to get you, people who are trying to sabotage you, and this for public figures, you're going to have a lot of this because you get a lot of projection and you get a lot of judgment, and because you become an archetype to people. And when you become an archetype to people, they stop seeing you as a person. They see you as an object that represents part of themselves that they either really, really love or really, really hate. So for public figures who have a lot of haters, having really solid boundaries around what you let in and what you notice and who you let into your life is going to be really important. So cutting people off for you is going to be good, especially, like random comments on the internet, like fans, people who you just don't know, like that don't matter to your life. Cutting people off, like in that sense, is really, really fine for you. Because this is a masterclass that's focused on artists and public figures, the advice that I'm going to give you is going to apply. I'm going to talk mostly about how to deal with things like that, like online and from the public, but this is going to help you if you're not a public figure or an artist. It's also going to help you in your personal life if you are, and you just need to like know how to deal with haters in your personal life. So as everything starts, we start with knowing who we are and what we want. And who we are and what we want really depends on things like our astrology, our Enneagram, our human design, the destiny matrix. These things are something that you're going to want to know about yourself, to know what your mission is here, what your energy is here. And this is a years-long process, so I'm not saying if you've never touched these things before, which is unlikely if you're following me, but if you've never touched these things before, then, give yourself some grace. You may not know who you are, what you want yet, or maybe you do. Maybe you have found it intuitively, and that's really, really hard to do today because we have so many distractions and there's so much pressure. Humans really have never been under this kind of pressure before, and these tools have been given to us to help us navigate that pressure. So please use them because they are very, very accurate. It's very high technology, especially human design and the gene keys and the Enneagram as well. This is just extremely high spiritual technology that you should be taking advantage of because it's free. Teaching yourself it is free. It does take a long time if you're going to teach yourself it, and the shortcut is always investing in getting a reading done. I suggest getting a human design reading done or an Enneagram reading, or I don't know if they even do Enneagram readings, but educating yourself on that as much as possible. So know who you are and what you want, know your mission here. If you already know who you are and what you want, know what kind of, a good question to ask yourself is what does it look like for me to engage with people who are hating on me? What does it look like for me? Like, what's my ideal goal when it comes to people who are projecting onto me, people who are putting their issues onto me, strangers especially? And here's for things like family. With things like family, it's interesting because we really do get more triggered by our family members than we do by strangers. Strangers are actually really easy to deal with because you can just block them, ignore them, and move on. With family, it can be different because we don't see our blind spots as much as we do with family. So we're going to when we're dealing with family who are hating on us, or our friends who are hating on us, it is really important to acknowledge how we feel first. Say, like, oh, I feel so attacked right now, or whatever. And ask yourself, is it true what they're saying about me? Could it be true what they're saying about me? Is it true in any capacity? And is it true in a regular capacity? And this is going to take brave self-examination, because it's hard to be aware of things that make us look bad, and things that make us feel bad, and things that make us feel like a bad person, especially. So if somebody, for example, is saying, calling you, for example, controlling and manipulative, you're a controlling and manipulative person, is it true? Are you being controlling? Are you letting them be themselves? And part of learning who you are and what you want is learning about how other people are allowed to be themselves as well. And this is a tool that you're going to use to help you get over haters and to become a more resilient person when it comes to haters. Learning how to let other people have themselves while you have yourself. So I'll give you a personal example from my personal life. My brother broke the toilet, and he did not fix it. He did not tell me he was going to fix it. He did not tell me he had any intention of fixing it. So I messaged him and I said, are you going to fix the toilet? Because I need to sit down on it. You know, like, I'm a girl, you know, like, I'm so glad for you that you get to stand up and pee, but I don't have that, you know, I don't have that privilege. So, so please fix the toilet. And I could go on and on and on and say, oh, you know, he has a responsibility to let me know this, and he has a responsibility to communicate with me about his intentions so that I know what's going on. But I was like nonstop messaging him, like, are you gonna fix it? Are you gonna fix the fucking toilet? Ah! And he like lashed out at me, which is not, I'm not saying he was not in the wrong. I mean, he was not in the, I'm not saying he was right for this, but I could have backed off quite a bit, you know. And so when he, and this is when I gave you the controlling and manipulative example, that was my brother calling me controlling and manipulative. And I stood back and I looked at, I was like, am I being controlling and manipulative? And I'm sure he felt that way, you know. And I look at that and I see, yeah, I can see how I was being controlling and manipulative, because he's a totally different person than me. He's very chill. He's not like a fast action taker. And I was not letting that be okay. And of course, he has his own issues, but those are not my issues to try and solve for him. Did he need to, in a perfect world, did he need to inform me? Yeah, sure. In a perfect world, did he need to take care of it right away? Yeah, but he didn't, you know. And me trying to control the situation and try to like whip him into shape, because there was a lot of judgment behind how I was communicating to him. Me trying to whip him into shape like a fucking like general, a war general, when he's not a whip into shape kind of person. He's just not. He's really chill, you know? He's like a slow moving stream where I'm like a crashing river. Me trying to get him to be a different person by getting him to take action and getting him to like force him to like communicate with me in a way that he just doesn't do with me, was me trying to control the situation. And I was being controlling. And I did back off. I did end up learning how to back off. And I did end up learning how to communicate with him better from all of that. So I'm going to help you do that today. I'm not going to help you like learn how to communicate better, because this is just something that kind of naturally, you'll start to naturally look for these things when you have more inner peace. I am going to show you how to have more inner peace about it. And when you have more inner peace about it, when you have that centered clarity, you're going to see where the problem is easier. And you're going to be able to find the resources that you need to address your own problem. Because maybe your problem is communication. Maybe you are controlling and manipulative. Maybe you are racist or whatever. Whatever somebody's accusing you of. I don't know. And maybe you do need to work on that, but only you know that. Okay? And maybe the projections that people are putting on you are completely wrong. And helping you like come to a place of clarity and grounded centeredness within you is going to help you see whether that projection is real or whether that projection is just a projection, and you'll be able to brush it off and be totally unbothered, legitimately unbothered by it. I always say, if you're triggered by it, there's something there for you. There's something true about you because you're triggered. I do want to say, if you have haters, you're doing something right. You are on the right path. There is no such thing as somebody who is doing their path that does not have critics, that does not have people hating on them, and is not stirring the pot in some way. So if everybody likes you, you're being fake as fuck. And or you just haven't found your thing yet, which is fine. Because usually how it happens is, you know, you start putting yourself out there and people are like, oh my god, I love you, blah blah blah, and then you get your first hate comment and you're like, you freak out and you're like, what the fuck, how do I deal with this? If you don't have any haters, you probably just aren't being as bold as you could be, which is fine. It's all work in progress. Speaking from the heart and letting yourself be more cringe is going to help with that. Having haters is a good thing. I'm an Enneagram 8 if you can't tell, but I literally will measure my success by how many haters I have. The more haters I have, the more I'm like, yeah. The more real I'm being. Ooh. Okay. So if you are being a hater, and you're going to know because you're very judgmental of people, if you are being a hater, it's because you are not acknowledging things about yourself that you don't like. And it's really, really hard to acknowledge. I want to just acknowledge this, that it's really, really hard for us to acknowledge things about ourselves that we don't like, because it makes us feel like we're shitty people and we don't deserve anything, and we're never going to get what we want because we're so horrible and we're basically Hitler and all this stuff. When you see yourself as a bad person, you don't take action on things. So our natural tendency, and this is just how our brains work, our natural tendency is going to be to minimize every way in which we see ourselves as bad. And part of how we do that is by judging other people. So when we say, and this is a big one, when we say, oh, Donald Trump is such a tyrant. A lot of the times we're projecting our own tyranny onto some vague public figure. And I know he's not like a vague public figure, but he's a huge public figure, but you don't know him. Okay? You don't know this person. And ultimately the things that he says and does don't really have any impact on your life. Unless you live next to him, in which case you do know him, you know, like, and you're like his cousin, and he's always like up your ass about something. I don't know. But when we see somebody we don't like and we start judging them, there's always some projecting going on. And there's always some kind of jealousy going on as well. So what does Donald Trump get away with that you wish you could get away with? For example, it might not be Donald Trump. Maybe you really like him. I think he's hilarious. I don't really like him, but I think he's so fucking funny. I think he's really good at business, which I do admire. But let me think of somebody I don't like. It's kind of hard because I don't really give a shit about people that I see around, like on the internet, you know, that I don't know. Oh, there's this girl. Her name's Hillary Lane. She does this horrible YouTube channel that's just awful, and I'm gonna call myself out here. She did this. I write fan fiction. I know everyone thinks this is so cringe, but it's a really great way to learn how to write fiction. It's a really great way to get feedback, and it's fun. I've been writing fan fiction since I was in like junior high. I'm probably always going to be writing fan fiction, and no, I will not give you my I'm not going to give you my name. I'm never going to give anybody my fanfic name because I write the nastiest shit. Like, you're not going to see that. But it's a really great way to practice getting, like, dipping your toes into writing, see if you really like it, see if you hate it, see if you're good at it, see if you want to keep doing it. You know, it's a good way to learn how to write a story. And a lot of really famous authors have gotten their start writing fan fiction or writing things like fan fiction. This woman named Hillary Lane, she went off on this whole rant like maybe a month ago on her YouTube channel, just like tearing into fan fiction, calling it the worst thing in the world, saying it ruined society and it ruined culture and all this stuff. And it was so obvious to me that this woman is just jealous of people who have written fan fiction and gotten very famous and rich off of it, like Cassandra Clare, for example, who I grew up with. By the way, I grew up reading her fan fiction, and when she started with the Mortal Instruments series, which I loved as a kid, I was just eating that shit up. And I actually really liked those books. I don't know if they're well written or not. I couldn't care less. What I cared was that they were entertaining and they were fun for me, and it was escapism. Loved that. To me, that's, if you enjoy what you're reading, that's good writing, right? So this woman was just going off on people who write fanfic itself, the whole concept of fanfic, authors who've gotten famous off of fanfic, and just smearing them. Of course, you go to her website and she's writing this very, very mediocre serial novel on her Substack that's not good. It's very dry, and she's this very straight-laced, like woman with a very stern bob, and she's got like a button up that goes up to her like chin, and of course she's Catholic and she was homeschooled. So I was judging this woman really, really hard for, just having the worst opinion in the world, in my opinion. And I'm not saying I have an objective opinion. I just think she was very wrong, and I think the way that she did it was just extremely obvious projection. And then I asked myself, why am I jealous of this woman? Because I practice what I preach. If I'm judging somebody, then I'm going to ask myself, like, wow, where's this jealousy coming from? I'm jealous of the fact that she has so many followers and she has such bad fucking takes. I'm jealous of that. I'm jealous that she can get away with being a fucking liar who is not in her integrity, and she's still getting all of these followers. I'm jealous of that, genuinely. So when we have judgment of others, when we have hate towards others, there's always an element of jealousy, and there's an element of inauthenticity. Where are we not admitting that we want something that they have that we're not letting ourselves have? And for example, maybe you're not jealous of Donald Trump because he's a tyrant. Maybe you don't want to be a tyrant, right? Nobody wants to be a tyrant, but maybe you are a tyrant and you're projecting that onto him. Because I don't know if you've noticed, but like, people are not getting arrested in their homes for speaking like their mind and saying they hate Donald Trump. That's what a tyrant does. And nobody's doing that. So he's not, it's not true that he's a tyrant. It's not the objective truth that he's a tyrant. It's your opinion. And where are you jealous of him? What is it about him that makes you hate him so much that you wish you could get away with? What's he doing that you wish you could get away with? Because that's where, noticing that about yourself, that's where you're going to stop projecting hate outwards. And when you stop projecting hate outwards and judgment, people stop doing it back to you so severely. And I'm not saying you're never going to get hate or projection if you stop doing it, because you are, especially if you're a public figure, but it's not going to bother you as much. You're going to be very, very unbothered when you take what you're projecting onto other people, and when you take the hate that's in your heart and you say, where's that in me? There's nothing wrong with being a hater. I absolutely love being a hater sometimes. It's fun. But as long as you can like come back and say, where am I jealous? What's the truth here? That's when you can actually start to become a good critic. Because when you can say, oh, here's where I have the problem, then you can start saying, and here's the actual distilled truth of why I don't like this person. It's because I don't like Hillary Lane because I can see her projection. And I'm projecting onto her my own jealousy of the fact that she has so many followers and speaks such bullshit. Okay? My whole shtick is like anti-bullshit. So I'm triggered by that a little bit. I mean, not triggered by it now because I've worked through it, but Now I can be a good critic of Hillary Lane because I'm not personally triggered. I'm not personally bothered because I've dealt with my shit. Does that make sense? So if I wanted to, I could make a really, really good criticism of why she's wrong and where she could go right without it being all about me and my trigger and how, oh, she's just this shitty little person, you know? Like she's not a shitty little person. She's just wrong, and it's okay to be wrong. You know, it's okay to be loudly wrong. I've been loudly wrong before. I'm loudly wrong often. I encourage people to be loudly wrong often, but cop up to it, you know, admit to it. I want to say that it is a valid fear to fear people's criticisms for you making things and putting yourself out there. People since the dawn of time have been killed, maimed, hurt, raped, wounded, kidnapped, betrayed, ostracized for their opinions, for their beliefs, for things that they've chosen to stand up with. That's the whole story of Jesus Christ. Salman Rushdie just was stabbed like 42 times because of his books. You know, he is, to me, a modern day martyr. I absolutely love Salman Rushdie. I read his books in high school. And hearing that he was stabbed by some insane motherfucker who was so triggered by what he wrote that he couldn't handle it. You know, to me, that's like, one, that's a sign of power. Because holy fuck, you have to be very, very powerful to upset somebody that much. Two, it's scary. Seeing that happen to somebody is terrifying because you're like, well, if I'm authentic, then that could happen to me. And that's true. So you have to acknowledge your fear around that. And the correct action to mitigate that fear is never going to be self-censoring. It's never going to be hiding. It could be moving to a different country. So if you live in like an Islamic country, but you're very anti-Islam, getting the fuck out of there is going to be a good move for you as soon as possible. But hiding yourself and refusing to speak out and refusing to talk about the things that you know you're here to talk about is never the correct move. And this goes back to having the boundaries that you need to have. What are the boundaries that you need to have as an artist? What is it that you know you need to do to have the life that you want? What kind of life do you want? What is your message? What are you here to say? You're gonna piss people off no matter what you make, by the way, even if you're making like really cozy shit. You know, I'm sure there's somebody who hates the guy that made Animal Crossing. Like there's nothing you can do that's ever going to be part of your purpose that's not going to piss somebody off. So it's really, really important to get over the fact that you're not going to be liked by everybody. And you get over that by coming back to the heart chakra, which we're going to get into in a minute. I'm just looking at my notes to see what's come up. If you're getting a lot of projection and it's kind of bothering you, there's self-doubt within you that should be looked at. So if you're coming in, if the projections that you're feeling are making you feel either fearful or guilty, always look at that, because if you don't deal with that fear or guilt, then that fear or guilt is going to manifest, and that's a root chakra issue. It's going to manifest up, and it's not going to it's going to make you crazy eventually. So dealing with the projections that people are projecting onto you, and the easiest way to do this with the heart is with the heart chakra. I guess we'll just get into the heart chakra. Healing the heart chakra is all about healing the original wound of the heart that caused you to be inauthentic, that causes you to put on a show to make yourself look better for other people. So the heart chakra is all about being able to be so open that you could be shot through with an arrow and it would just go right through you, and you would just be like, okay. It's both divine feminine and divine masculine. And let me see if I can explain that. So the divine feminine is so open. It's so open. It's just like the ocean, and if somebody stabbed the ocean's just like, okay, okay. um, and the divine masculine, it's like pure light consciousness. And what light consciousness does is it penetrates everything that it touches. It says, I see you. I illuminate you. I see you. So the heart chakra is the beginning of where the body, the physical body, meets the spiritual body. And the whole thing is spiritual, but just bear with me. So the spiritual body, it starts crown, third eye, throat. These are spiritual centers. They have to do with our spiritual capacity. They also have to do with other people. The heart is the meeting of the lower chakras and the upper chakras. So the lower chakras are about the body. So the root chakra, the sacral chakra, and the solar plexus chakra. All of these have to do with the self and the body and the grounded kind of earth plane experience of getting your basic needs met and feeling emotionally secure in your body, feeling that sense of self-confidence and self-worth. And then the heart chakra is where these two meet in the middle. I guess we'll go with the other three. The throat chakra is about the voice expressing outwards. The third eye chakra is about your ideas expressing outwards into the collective. And then the crown chakra is the opening where God comes in and the energy of the cosmos comes into your body. The heart chakra is a blend of the two, which means that it's also everything. And when you have the heart chakra, this is what the very first organ of the body is, the heart. When you, I'm sorry, just feeling my heartbeat as I was saying that, it was really cool. When you are connected to the heart chakra, you're connected to everything. When your heart chakra is open and very, very healthy, you're connected to everything. When your heart chakra is open, you're living authentically. You are allowing yourself to be cringe, but it doesn't feel cringe anymore. It feels like I'm myself and I love it and it's so much fun and this is great. And I don't give a shit if you don't like it because I love you anyway. You know, it doesn't mean you're going to let them into your house, but you don't care. You don't care so much. And this is why people who are inauthentic are hater magnets. I don't know if you've noticed, but the people who are performing the most are the ones who get the most judgment and they're responding to it all the time. So it doesn't mean if you are a public figure and people are hating on you, it doesn't mean that you are inauthentic necessarily, but if you're responding to it and trying to convince them otherwise, it does. Because somebody who's living in an authentic way is not going to be responding to people's projections, especially as strangers, because that's not healthy. And it's not true. You don't need to respond to everything somebody projects onto you. But if you're living inauthentically, you are a hater magnet. And you're a hater magnet because people can tell. People can smell it. People can see it. When you are not an authentic person, when you're fake, it's obvious. It's really obvious. And we're going to go into how to heal the heart chakra, but I'm wondering if I have to sneeze. Hang on. I do want to say that just because, again, I think I just said this, but again, just because you get hate doesn't mean you're being inauthentic. It's when you are obviously bothered and you respond to it and you make it a big deal that you're putting on a show and you're like, oh, I have to defend myself now against this hater. It's like, why do you have to defend yourself against a hater? You know, like in what realm do you ever have to do that? Unless like you're being actually burned at the stake, in which case, you know, defend yourself. But you know, don't try to get them to like you, but speak your piece. You know, only speak your piece if, like, when do you speak your piece? Hang on, that's such a good question. What is a good time to speak your piece? When your life depends on it, which it so rarely does, unless you are actually on trial In which case, take your lawyer's advice on that. Or if nobody will represent you, be your own lawyer. Or if you're broke, I guess. The only time you should be like advocating for yourself against a hater is if it's somebody that you know and you want to have a good relationship with, in which case that's not really a hater. That's just that's a relationship issue, because guess what? Relationships are not easy. They're tough. I mean, I don't want to say they're tough, because that's such a limiting belief, and I don't believe that. Relationships are complex because two people have to like be involved. So somebody misunderstanding you in a relationship, especially if it's a healthy relationship, is not them being a hater. Okay, so maybe like a little mindset shift there. When I say hater, I really do mean strangers and public, like the public opinion of you. So when is it good to defend yourself against the public opinion? Only if you're on trial, if you're about to die, if there's something you genuinely want to apologize for, I guess. But I would always check and ask myself first, am I doing this for approval, or am I doing this because it's a genuine part of my journey and I genuinely want to do this? It's really coming from my heart. I would say 99% of the time there is never ever a reason to apologize to the general public for anything. Because when you acknowledge it, that's when people use that as rope to hang you with. And why would you do that? Why would you give strangers who hate you a rope to hang you with? That's so self-hating. It's like, girl, if you have frenemies and these people are always dogging on you, those are not your friends, okay? I want to make this really, really clear, especially as a woman, and especially if you're in your 20s, you're going to deal with a lot of fake bitches and frenemies and things like that, especially if you're really, really beautiful. Don't be friends with people who are fucking jealous of you, okay? They're going to hate you, they're going to try and tear you down, and it's all going to be projection. It's going to have nothing to do with you. The only way you can tell when someone is projecting onto you, by the way, is if you are healthy and you know yourself. Otherwise, you could have all those problems, but you'll never know it because you don't actually self-examine. If you need to know how to self-examine, tell me and I'll tell you how to do that, because I'm assuming that you guys know how to self-examine in this workshop. I'm just looking at my notes. Sometimes clapping back is warranted. It really depends on if it will further your goals and your mission or not. So J.K. Rowling, I know I'm sounding like such a right-winger today because I'm using all of these examples, but it's so interesting to me, like watching the political sphere, because I'm not political, I'm not right-wing, I'm not left-wing, I'm just an observer. But J.K. Rowling is a great example of somebody who does really good clapbacks when she gets hate. She doesn't clap back to everybody, but she only claps back when it's going to further her agenda, her mission, her point. She's a writer, so she can get away with doing things like that. If you're gonna clap back to somebody, make sure it's gonna make you look good. Okay? And this is for public figures and people who are like, you genuinely actually have a reason to clap back because you have a mission. Oh, Jordan Peterson, he's such a good example of what not to do. This is gonna make me sound less right-wing, yay. Jordan Peterson is he's a 5'1", and 5'line, it's really hard to be a 5'line in human design. He should have taken this masterclass. I wish I'd made this when he was starting to spiral, because he did not handle fame well. He did not handle criticism well. He took the criticism that he got, he personalized it so much. He is not a heart chakra. His heart chakra is not aligned, because he's just got so much bitterness, so much hate, so much anger, so much rage, and I just feel so sorry for him. Whenever I look at him, I'm like, dude, you were gonna pass away because you were so hateful. Like, you're so full of bitterness. Like, Goodness, my dude, like he used to be so good. His lectures used to be they're so fascinating. And then he just turned into this like the woke what does he said? Up yours, woke moralists. Shit's so fucking funny. But he's a really good example of what not to do. Don't clap back like that. Don't clap back from your anger. Don't clap back from your bitterness. And that's the J.K. Rowling is like she genuinely believes what she's saying. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. Um, but she genuinely believes what she's saying, and you can tell that she's coming from a heart because there's no conflict, there's no like her face isn't red with rage, she's not like she's just she's very passionate about what she believes, and I respect that, I admire that. But Jordan Peterson, my goodness, his the way that he, for a psychologist, it's so funny to watch them, like to watch like a really famous psychologist let's not even take their own advice and just flush themselves down the toilet that way. Just like, goodness, dude, like get a grip, do some healing. So let's go into how to heal the heart chakra. So here's how you heal the heart chakra. I want you to remember the last time you felt inauthentic, the last time you knew that you were performing. When was the last time you did something for somebody else's approval or somebody else's benefit? Not benefit like in a good way, but like benefit to make them see you as a good person. When was the last time you did something for somebody else's approval? Mine was yesterday, and I actually went into a whole like process over this. This whole year for me has been such a heart chakra opener because I was so blocked in the heart chakra until like this week. It was like a whole 6-month process for me to unblock my heart chakra. And that's just because, girl, I'm so stubborn. But I just knew that was like, there, I can't, there's something off. There's something off with the way that I'm doing things, and I don't know what it is. So I had to like remove myself from everything. And I was really, really like not posting in my business and not showing up because I was like, I'm so like, I just hate the way I'm showing up. It just doesn't feel right. It feels off. And yeah, it was because of a heart chakra block. I had a lot of grief that I wasn't dealing with that was causing me to show up in a very inauthentic way. And so the heart chakra blocks are about grief that the world is cruel, grief that you could not be who you are here to be without showing up in a performative way or a fake way. So when was the last time that you felt that you did something for somebody else's approval? What did it feel like? What did it look like in your body when you access that feeling? What are some words that you can use to describe it? For me, it was a veil. It was a veil that covered my face and my shoulders. Went down to here. It was like this very thin white veil. And what I did was, yesterday I was at the grocery store and I was like, this guy was like, it was a worker, and he was like, "Can I help you with anything, ma'am?" "Oh no, I'm good." My voice immediately like went up in pitch, and I was like, "Oh no, I'm good." Like acting like I was just this nice girl who was so nice to store employees. And I mean, I wish I was. I wish I am. I'm not saying I'm mean to store employees, but like, when you're supposed to do something and you have to change your voice to be that, you're being fake. And I noticed myself the second I did, and I was like, oh, I could have said, "Good dude," but I didn't. I was like, "Oh, I'm good, thank you." Like, that's not how I sound. Okay. So what does it feel like when you're fake? What do you notice yourself doing? Like, what does it feel like in your body when you're fake? For me, it was just all above here, like titties and above, and it was a veil. When was the first time that you felt that way? Don't question it, just go there. Don't try to think about it, just go there. When was the first time you felt that feeling? Go back to the feeling. It'll be before age 9. When you get to that feeling, and for those of you who are like, I can't access this feeling, see if you can write it in the memory, see if you can write it in words, because it's there. You have to trust yourself and you have to let yourself go there. It doesn't matter if it makes sense. It doesn't matter if you think that it's not correct. You're like, you start justifying it to yourself in your mind. Just stop, go back to the feeling, access. When was the first time I felt this way? And let yourself notice what it was. Don't think about it, just accept it. That was the first time you felt that way. It doesn't have to make sense. What were you doing? What was going on? Where were you? Just describe it. And this is something you can do on your bed. You can do it with a voice note. You can write it in your journal. I prefer to do this process laying down on my bed with a pillow over my eyes, because it creates a nice feeling of something covering me and also having kind of weight. It really allows me to sink into the memory really, really well. So just do that. And just notice where you are and what's happening. What would you have preferred to happen? And you can pause this video at any time. You can just listen and come back later. But this is how you heal the heart chakra. So you have to do this process. It's not optional. Everybody has to heal when they're called to heal. And you'll know that this is correct for you because you're watching this video. If you've already done the healing process, then you can just take the tips that I'm going to give you. But I suggest that everybody watching this do this, because it's going to help you. It doesn't take a long time. This is a completion process, by the way. My own version. In the memory, what would you have preferred to happen? What should have happened according to your inner child there? That's before age 9. If you're getting a memory from after age 9, then go back and ask again, when was the first time I felt this way? And don't question the first time you felt this way. It will be before age 9. It's not going to be after age 9. What should have happened in the memory compared to what did happen? You have every right to feel the way that you feel. What did you make it mean about yourself that this happened? So for example, I had to put on a really ridiculous Easter Sunday dress in front of the whole family. I made that mean that for me to get all this attention, all this love, I had to be a good girl and perform. I had to put on a show for people to get them to like me. And if I refused to put on a show, then I had to be sick. So how that manifested in my adult life was I'm either going to perform for love, or if I refuse to perform, then I'm going to be sick. And that sickness could manifest as anything: a mental illness, usually, an addiction, a real physical sickness. So what did you make it mean about you or for you that this happened? And it could be the most benign thing that happened to you. It doesn't have to make sense to your adult brain. But your child brain is not thinking in the logical fashion that you do. You start to develop after age 9, at age 8 usually. You start to become more mental at age 8. That's when you start to think in a logical process. You start to think X equals Y. Therefore, you know. So tell that child self, just because you had to X does not necessarily mean Y, does not mean Y. It's not true that I have to do X, whatever you feel like you had to do, because of Y. However you feel like you had to perform or show up, or whatever it is. Do a little bit of the work of Byron Katie here and show that inner child it's not true that they have to, this assumption that they made in that memory, it's not true that they have to do it this way, whatever it is. And then ask the child if it wants to come back into your adult body right now, or if it wants to stay in the memory that you created that's better. If it's not ready to come back into your adult body, then allow it more time and maybe ask it if it needs anything else in that memory. Don't think too hard about it, just let it. A lot of the time, my inner child is so fast and so ready for me to come back into the body. This is a form of this is the completion process. I learned it from Teal Swan. It's a form of soul retrieval. And another teacher of mine, Mami Onami, she says it's time travel, which is true. That's what soul retrieval is. It's a form of time travel. So we just went back into the past, and you can thank your inner child. Say, thank you so much. Thank you so much for letting me come back and get you. And thank you so much for wanting to come back to me now in a healed space. What you did was you went back in time just now, and you can get up, shake your body around, blah, 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 blah. Move around, wiggle your arms, flex your hands and feet, make weird noises. Get yourself back into your body, back into the present, and kind of get I like to say vibrate the energy off. So move a little bit, kind of get out of that memory and come back to the present. And just thank your inner child. Thank you so much. Okay. Now that we're back, I'm going to pause. With the heart chakra and with this process, with the haters process, what's most important is that you come to a place of total self-acceptance. And you do that by letting it be okay for you to be as cringe as you are and not trying to be somebody else. And when you're trying to, that's the completion process is really, really good for this because it puts you into a place of self-acceptance. And if you're still having some issues with this, please let me know, because I want to work with that. I want to help you get to a place of self-acceptance so that you're not a hater magnet, and so that if you have a lot of haters, they're not bothering you. I want to help you with this. So your job when it comes to haters is to let them be. So just like how my brother in that example that I gave you earlier was being kind of a hater on me, it was also kind of true. Does that mean that I need to take that on and like see myself as a controlling and manipulative person now? No. But maybe he was kind of right. It's like there's probably an element of truth in that, and that's okay. Self-acceptance is about accepting the bad parts of yourself. It's about accepting the worst things about yourself. And one of my favorite tools for this is actually learning your Enneagram type. And there's because the Enneagram, like learning your Enneagram type, you're just like, holy shit, that is the worst fucking thing. I wish I was not that, because it's awful. It's so cringe. It's so embarrassing. Why can't I have another one? I wish I was a 4. Okay, I thought I was going to be a 4 because I'm creative and I'm artistic, like I did that. I was like, oh, I'm such a 4. I'm going to be such a 4, And I tried to be like cringe at the 4, and I just couldn't find myself being cringe at the 4. But the 8, oh, girl, when I heard about the 8, I was like, I don't want to be that. I don't want to be the person who's always pushing people away, who always needs to be right, who's always like, a bully, basically. But I literally am. That's just me. So learning how to be okay with who you are, because everybody's cringe and everybody has things that they hate about themselves, and everybody has horrible parts of themselves that they think are horrible, that are the worst thing in the world, that everybody thinks it about themselves. And they look at you and they're like, I wish I had that problem. I wish I was cringe like that. And you're over here like, I wish I was cringe like everybody else. Learning to fall in love with yourself is such a humbling process, because you realize that all of these things you were trying to do were just so bullshit, just like fear-based, trying to get away from yourself. Like, oh, maybe I should be a millionaire because then all the ladies will love me. But it's like, really, if you don't want to be a millionaire from your heart and your soul, if you just want to be a millionaire because people are going to like you, like, people are not going to like you when you have $1 million. Have you seen the way people talk about millionaires? That's not love. People who love you for your money, like, that's not love. You only get real love when you are actually being authentic. And the people who hate you when you're genuinely authentic, it stops hurting. It stops hurting. And it doesn't stop hurting. That's the wrong thing to say. No. Go back. It doesn't stop hurting. You stop taking it on as an identity, because you don't fucking judge yourself like that anymore. It never feels good to be hated on. Never. It literally never feels good to be hated on, unless you're an Enneagram 8 like me and you just love fucking conflict. Like, I'm like, yeah, fight me. Because I see it as like, I genuinely see like that kind of sparring as a form of love. I'm just like, yeah. Like, I told you, I love haters. I love having haters. If I don't have haters, then I'm like, I don't feel successful. But it's not that it feels good. It doesn't feel like, I love being hated on. I love it when people criticize me. No, it sucks. It sucks. But it just sucks a little less if you're an Enneagram 8, because you're like, that means I pissed somebody off. When you are hiding parts of yourself, people can tell. And this is why there's certain people who are just like complete hater magnets. And I'm going to keep saying this because it's true. People can tell when you're inauthentic. They can smell it, and they're going to try and challenge you, and they're going to try and poke at you until you can get to either you pop and you crack, which is some people's goal for you. They want to see you crumble. They want to see you fail. Or you come into your own and you say, oh, I do see that was a problem for me. And you integrate it, and the problem goes away. If you want drama to stop stirring up around you, you have to face your own drama. within you. You have to face the parts of you that are being fake, and the parts of you that are inauthentic, and the parts of you that are doing everything for love and for approval. Because when you're doing shit for love and approval, you're being fake as fuck, and everybody can see through it. Nobody likes you. You lose your magnetism when you are inauthentic, by the way. It's been such a big lesson for me since COVID, because I lost all my friends. And it was because I was inauthentic, to be true. You know, like, I knew that these people, I wasn't supposed to be hanging out with them, because I was honestly, like, I really didn't like a lot of the things they were saying they stood for. They were not spiritual people. And I don't have a problem with non-spiritual people, but when they're your friends and that's your friend group and you're relying on them and they're like your closest family, that's a problem, because you can't really be yourself. So I was really like just struggling. I was like, I know I need to get out of this friend group. I know I need to find better friends. And of course it all came crumbling down, but it came crumbling down in such a violent way because I refused to take action until there was, you know, no action to take. It was taken for me by God. I refused to take action, so I lost trust in myself. And that losing trust in yourself is a byproduct of inauthenticity. You know, when you aren't authentic, every single chakra in your body is affected, because the heart is the connector for all of it. If you are not healed in your heart and open in your heart, every single chakra is affected. Every single aspect of your life is affected. And you're going to get a lot of hate because you're not being real. You can't admit that you're real because you feel like, oh, I'm just so cringe. You know, like I told you guys, I just wrote I told you guys I write fanfic. I'm like, you know, a lot of people are like, oh, I could never take a fanfic author seriously. There are fanfic authors making millions of dollars. I don't give a flying fuck if you guys know I write fanfic. You know, but, and I've told people this for a long time, so it's obviously not something I care. that gives me a lot of shame. It's like, I'm friends with a lot of writers, and a lot of writers, like, when I tell them that I like to write fanfic, they're like, they look at me like I have the Black Plague. And I'm like, listen, I write good shit, you know, like, I'm sorry, but I don't care. I learned how to write good shit from fanfic, and girl, when I publish a novel, you guys are gonna see. You guys are gonna be like, oh, well, maybe I should write fanfic. But, you know, I haven't published a novel yet, so nobody's gonna believe me until I do, so. Okay. I'm just looking at my notes. Oh, here's a good one. So, if you're getting hate, did you goad it on? Did you step on a hornet's nest that you should not have stepped on? Are you in the wrong room? This is another inauthenticity thing. It's also a codependency thing. So there was this internet argument, and I'm gonna talk to you guys about internet arguments. A lot of internet arguments that y'all are getting into are totally unnecessary. You don't need to be getting into them, but some of you are just addicted to drama, and I get it. You know, like, again, Enneagram 8, I'm also an ENTP. I like to challenge people, and I like to, you know, I mean, I'm a life coach. Like, I literally get paid to like tell people to like get their shit together. You know, so I also like doing it for free. What a fun coincidence. It's not fun for me anymore to get in internet arguments, but sometimes I do notice myself like being like, actually, this is incorrect. So fucking cringe, dude. You're gonna think that you are the most cringe person in the world, but until you accept your cringeness, like, you're not gonna be able to be an authentic person. But so there's this fucking feminist online who was like, I forget, I don't even remember what she was talking about, but I decided that I need to add in my input. Worst idea on the fucking planet, because if you kick a feminist hornet's nest, it's the exact same thing as kicking an incel hornet's nest. They're gonna come for you, and they're gonna come for your grandma. These people are crazy, dude. They're mentally ill as fuck, and they're not gonna let you forget it, and they're gonna project all that shit onto you. They're gonna be like, oh my god, you are just a tool of the patriarchy, or you're a simp, or whatever. That hate, that was my fault. That was my fault because I'm the one who kicked the hornet's nest. I'm the one who saw this mentally ill person on the internet and was like, oh, I've got to correct that shit. Not my job. It's not my job to ever correct somebody's mental illness. And I did want to add my 2 cents, and I don't regret saying what I said, and I did not delete that post. This is on a private social media that I'm not going to tell you about. But I don't regret actually saying that. And I know that it was a codependent thing, but I don't regret it. I don't, and this is part of owning your own cringe, okay? I was acting codependent in that moment, and I have no regrets about it. This is another tool that you can add to your toolbox. Do I regret? This is when you know whether you should apologize or not. Am I sorry for writing this? If you're sorry for writing it, you don't need to apologize. You can just delete the thing, okay? By the way, don't ever apologize. Never complain, never explain, and never fucking apologize. Unless you're genuinely like, oh, actually, I am fucking sorry. And it should be rare because you shouldn't apologize to fucking strangers. I'm so sorry I offended you. Are you doing this for approval? Always come back to that question. Am I doing this for approval? If you're doing it for approval and you don't actually give a shit about their opinions, please don't fucking apologize because everybody can smell that inauthenticity. You are not actually giving a real apology. This is why YouTube apology videos feel so fucking fake. It's because this person was doing it because they wanted that drama off their back, not because they're actually sorry. Okay? They're sorry because they got caught, or they're sorry because they got canceled or whatever, you know? So when the feminists tried to cancel me, I had literally like 47 hate comments on all of my posts. Like there were people making fake accounts, and there were people like trying to drag me. I ignored every single one of them. I actually thought it was really funny, but this is because I genuinely stood behind what I said, and I did the only thing that I regretted in the moment. I don't regret it anymore because it's become a teaching lesson, and it's become profitable for me, this story. So the only thing that I regretted in the moment was the fact that I'd kicked the hornet's nest, that I went up to this mentally ill person and was like, actually, but I actually stood behind what I said, and I did not remove the post. I just ignored it, and it went away. It's surprise, surprise. When people realize that they can't hate on you, it goes away. They go away because they get bored. People who are really, really mentally ill, if you want to get them off your back, just ignore them. Because this is like the classic narcissist gray rock thing. If somebody is like really, really up your ass and they're obviously mentally ill, ignore them. Gray rock, go as boring as possible. Give the shortest yes, no answers as possible. There was one person who actually from that hate brigade that actually like I did like what I did. This was really funny. She came at me with like some earnestness, and I actually thought about responding to her, but then I was like, I looked at her page, her social media page, and I went through it, and I was like, oh no, this person is very, very sick. So I actually just liked a bunch of her posts and went on my way, and that was the only response that she got. She wanted a public response, but I didn't give her one. She ended up blocking me. So you see, the trash takes itself out, problems work themselves out when you are not bothered, when you stand behind what you said because you know who you are and what you want, when you do not apologize, and when you do not acknowledge, and don't ever fucking acknowledge it, please, by the way, especially if you're a public figure, especially if you have an online platform, especially if you stand by what you said. And if you're doing it, if you ever apologize for approval, people can smell that, and you're actually going to ruin your reputation that way, especially if you're a line 5, because people can smell inauthenticity, and they can smell lies, and they can smell bullshit, and they can smell you just trying to save your ass. So don't do it. Don't ever apologize, especially for something that you do not regret. And if you apologize for making mistakes, that's like apologizing for breathing. You are going to make mistakes. You're human. Don't apologize for making fucking mistakes. Don't do it. Don't apologize. I wish nobody apologized publicly, period. Apologies should be reserved for people that you know and love when you genuinely hurt them and you're genuinely trying to change, and it's a relationship, like a one-to-one relationship that you're having. They should never be something that you do publicly. And of course, never say never. Now that I'm like thinking about it, I'm like, oh, never say never, but I've never seen it go well. Never. I've never seen a public apology go well. The only apology that needs to happen is a changed behavior, ever. You don't need to get on your YouTube and go, oh, I'm so sorry. I liked Hitler's post. It was just really funny though. Okay. I love you. Mwah. Bye. Oh my god, one more tip for you guys. I forgot to add this one. You guys are just going to come away from this thinking I'm the biggest right-wing Nazi on the planet. Pull a Sydney Sweeney. When somebody asks or demands an explanation, say, if I have an opinion on that, you'll know. And you guys, but like, I know you guys are going to be like, ew, but the right wingers are really killing it this year, you know? So they're really killing it in the PR department. And the left wingers are not. The left wingers are crashing out, except for Jordan Peterson. He's the crash out king of the century. But pull a Sydney Sweeney if you don't have anything to say. You don't owe anybody an explanation. Mwah. Bye. I tried to close out too soon. I'm so sorry. Closing. We're gonna close properly. So sorry. That was just I was like, oh, I think I'm done here. Goodbye. No, yeah, we're not done. Here's the closing. Nobody escapes hate. You don't get to escape it. You living on the planet, living your dream. Even if you're not here to be a public figure, nobody escapes hate. Being hated on, it's a price you pay for doing anything worth doing. Period. Point blank. You don't escape it. Nobody's gonna like you. Not everybody is gonna like you. Not everybody needs to. First you'll be ignored, then you'll be hated, then you'll be praised. Always keep that in mind. Ooh, the last and final question. Since hate is inevitable no matter what I do, whose opinion matters to me and whose doesn't? This circles back to the first get to know yourself question. If you want to know how to get to know yourself better, please let me know, because that just feels like something that's been coming up. Like, people have been asking me, like, what's my purpose? Like, do you guys need to know how to know yourself? Is this something that I need to, like, teach you guys on? Because we can do that. I love that stuff. And oh, I already did all that. I'm so ahead of myself. Like, so these workshops that I do, like, I'll write them down, like, and then I just kind of let myself riff, and then I look at the notes at the end and I'm like, oh, I covered all that. So look, we're in the flow, we're doing good. I didn't really talk about nervous system because, like, your nervous system capacity expands with your capacity for openness. So the more open you are, the more your nervous system is going to naturally kind of relax, because you're going to be living the life, and it does take time. So don't think, oh, well, I did my nervous system, I did my heart chakra opening today, why am I still nervous? Like, it does take time for your body to get used to what the spirit is kind of becoming. Give yourself 18 months to really, really ground into a new state of being. And this is something you're going to have to practice. If you really want it, you're going to keep coming back to it. You don't have to be perfect at it. Openness it's freedom, and it's where your genius is. Okay? You cannot be a genius if you were trying to be like everybody else. Yeah, I think that's it. Okay. Real kisses. Goodbye. Mwah. Love you.